If Israel feels that they pay a cost for occupying the Palestinian territories, they will change their attitude. And this cost could be political cost, could be economical cost, and could be blood cost. And what we should put on our agenda is how to make Israel pay the price for this occupation to the point that they will feel that they cannot continue anymore paying that price, and they have to reconsider their policies vis-à-vis the Palestinian people and the occupied territories. There are people who are talking about peaceful resistance. People are talking about 200,000 Palestinians demonstrating at Kalandia checkpoint or at Bethlehem checkpoint or other different points of clash between the Palestinians and the Israelis. But I think that if the political activities in September will fail, I think it will be a failure for both, for Fatah and Hamas, that they have to reconsider their strategies and to redesign their future plans in their struggle for the achievement of Palestinian independence and Palestinian freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ziad. I'm sure some of you have comments and questions. Please, sir.
Bert Wise. I worked in the Congress, and the executive on the Middle East, among other things, since 1962. I'm Jewish and a strong believer in an independent, viable Palestinian state. I've two questions related. One is, you know, when the word Hamas is mentioned or written about in Washington, immediately the computer spits out right after that who do not support the continued existence of Israel. It just automatically comes out. And that's the biggest hurdle for any positive response in Washington to what's happened. Could you state as clearly as you can what the position of Hamas is? Because my understanding was, in regard to the meeting in Saudi Arabia years ago, they had said they could accept the existence of Israel. And secondly, at the J Street conference recently here, the theme that I heard the most was criticism of the administration's emphasis on the process, don't disturb the process, and urging that the president, for the very first time, lay out not general principles, but a peace plan, and try and get the international community to tell Israel and Palestine this is as good as it's going to be, and to then increase pressure on Israel to accept it. And I'm wondering if you think that if the U.S. lays out a detailed peace plan with the support of the quartet and others, that could change the dynamic.
Thank you. Should I answer the question or take some more questions?
Should I take one more question?
Yeah.
Sir.
I want to follow up on what Bert Wise said. It seems to me that for a long time Israel has maintained that they don't have a peace partner because the Palestinians are divided. Now that Hamas and the Palestine Authority have gotten together, they say, oh, well, Hamas is a terrorist group, well, how can we have peace with them? And the Palestinian papers that were leaked from Saab Erekat office indicated that the Palestinians had given everything that Israel has demanded, but it's never been enough. So my question is, when is enough enough?
I will start with the second question. We don't know what Israel wants unless Israel wants to the land and doesn't want peace. They want to take all the land and to keep the situation as it is and to maintain the status quo, which is very comfortable for Israel. And here comes what I said about making this occupation expensive, making Israel pay the price for this occupation. If Israel feels the burden of the occupation and feel that they are paying the price of maintaining this status quo, then maybe they will be convinced that they have to change it. I think it depends what you want to hear. There are people who doesn't want to hear that Hamas is changing. So always they look in every corner to find something which justifies the argument that Hamas wants to destroy Israel. And if you want to see the reality, you look on the authentic sources of the changes within Hamas and say what are the signals or the messages which they are sending. And I try always to compare between the national movement and the Islamic movement. You know, from 1974, there was a clear process taking place within the Palestinian national movement. That from 1974 in the Palestinian National Council, there was a decision to establish a Palestinian authority in every part of the Palestinian land which Israel evacuates. And evacuate means that not by force, because if Israel is forced to evacuate land, Israel will not exist anymore. So the message was very clear. And since then, if you follow on all the successive resolutions of the Palestinian National Council, you will see that how this development was going on until 1988. And there was a very wide gap, big gap, between the Palestinian Charter of the PLO and between the realistic policy of the PLO. And now the same development is taking place within Hamas. If you see the decisions of the political bureau of Hamas and the statements of Khalid Mashal and other leaders of Hamas, you will see that all of them, they are talking about a Palestinian state in Gaza Strip with the West Bank, with East Jerusalem as its capital. They are not mentioning the swap, but I'm sure that they will not be against it. So basically, the political platform of Hamas is not different than that of the PLO. But of course, when it comes to Washington and to the right-wing circles and to the Jewish lobby and to AIPAC and to all these groups, there will not be any attention to any positive thing coming from the side of Hamas. Now, it is very clear that bilaterally we cannot solve our problem. We were conducting negotiations for 20 years, we got nowhere. When we were in some stages urging the American administration to be more active, the answer which we heard always, it was that we can facilitate the negotiations, but we cannot pressure on you. You have to work out your agreements. I was in the negotiations. I was negotiating in Taba and Cairo after Oslo agreement. And always when we were confronting something, the normal answer was, well, this is what we want, take it or leave it.